Hello everyone and welcome back to Tammy's Yarn House. Today's tutorial is going to be on dishcloths. And if you're watching this video, you already understand there's a big difference between cheap and inexpensive. Homemade dishcloths are inexpensive. They are definitely not cheap. They last for years. They wear very well, and they will outlast any store-bought dishcloth. And they're pretty much just about the same cost. You can get two, depending on what size your dishcloth is, you can get two of these out of one of those skeins of cotton yarn that you'll find at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And my dishcloths are 8.5 by 8.5, and I'm going to tell you the dimensions to use in order to get that, okay? Let's talk about our yarn. The yarn is going to be 100% cotton, and it's going to tell you to use a 5mm hook. Now you want to go down a hook size when you're making dishcloths because these get wet, right? Of course. And so when they do, they'll loosen up a little bit, and you really want it to stay tighter so it holds its scrubbing power, right? So you want to go down a hook size. Right. Okay. Stick with me to the end of the video and I'll show you. You see these holes up here? I will show you how you can avoid these holes at the end when you're putting your border on. I did these holes on purpose because I knew I was going to make a video about this. So I did. You see I have some sides that don't have any holes, and then I have other sides that do. I'll show you how you can avoid doing that. All right, you're going to need I'm going to do a 4mm hook today, your measuring tape, gather your stuff, come back here, and let's get started. Okay, I'm using a 4mm hook. This is a 4 medium yarn. My dishcloths are 8.5 by 8.5, and in order to get that dimension, you always chain. For this pattern, you do an odd number of chains. I did 35. When I did 35 chains using this yarn, which is a 4 medium with a 4mm hook, I did 30 to 31 rows up, and that gave me a perfect square of an 8.5 by an 8.5. Now, if you really want to check and you're thinking, oh gosh, I got through my dishcloth and I totally forgot how many rows, right, that you went up, you didn't use any stitch markers or anything, just do what you normally do, fold it in half. If it makes a perfect triangle, right, or not a perfect triangle, but you know what I mean. If it makes a triangle and you don't have it where one side is longer than the other and your tips meet, then you've got a square. Here we are at 35 chains. I have 35 chains, and you want to start in the second chain from the hook. Remember, the chain on your hook doesn't count for anything. And since we're going to put a border around this, you really want to go into the back humps. If you turn your work slightly to the side, you see those ridges, those back humps, kind of looks like, you know, the humps on the back of a dinosaur. You want to work into those because when you're done with your work, these V-stitches are going to be prominent. You're going to see them. You're not going to have to hunt, pick, find an event, right, on the side for a border. So we are going to start in the second chain from the hook, and this is a 1 row repeat. All right, we are going to put a single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and we are going to alternate doubles and singles. So the very next is going to be a double, and then the very next is going to be a single. And that's what we're going to do all the way down. That's what this pattern is, alternating doubles and singles. So do this all the way down your chain, alternating single crochets and double crochets, and I'll meet you at the very end and show you how to turn the row. Here we are at the end, and you know that your count is correct if you are going to end your last stitch with a double. We are always going to start our rows out with a single, and we're alternating single and doubles, and you're always going to end in a double. So let's put our double crochet right here. And what that does, alternating, is it gives it a little bit of a scrubby texture. You see that? It gives it more of a texture for dishes. So let's chain one. Always chain one. Turn your work. We are going to put a single crochet in that first stitch. And you see our next stitch at the row below is a single. We're going to put a double in there. The next stitch from the row below is a double. We're going to put a single in there. So that way, on top of every single crochet, you're going to put a double. And on top of every double crochet, you're going to put a single. So even if you sit this down and you walk away to answer the phone, answer the door, I don't know, refill your coffee, doesn't matter. You're always going to know where you are in this pattern based on the stitches that is around you. So we put a single crochet. Now we put a double. We know that's correct because we're putting a double in the top of this single down below. So that's how we're going to do it, and that's really what this pattern is. It is alternating single and double. Always start with a single crochet. Always end with a double crochet. Chain one. Turn your work, and that is your pattern. And again, I said I did 35 chains to get an 8.5 to 30 to 31 rows for it to be nice and square. But you know, everyone's tension is different, so double check your work, right? Meet me when you get done, and I will show you how to put a border around this, okay? I'll see you when you're ready for the border. Here we are at the end, and I don't remember how many rows I did, and so I will use the fold method, right? So we're going to fold this into a triangle and see if our points match, right? And they do. So we've got a square here. And now we can start to work on our border. Now, before we start working on the border, I want to invite you, if you like this video or found it informative, please give me a thumbs up, help support my work. And if you want to, go ahead and subscribe and set your notification bell so you can be notified of when I put out a new video. So let's go with a border. On the top, we have our stitches. All right, let me zoom in here and show you. Okay, you see, that's the top. We've got our V stitches. We can see them. We know where to go. On the bottom, because we went through that back loop, if you see, here we are. Because we went through that back hump, we've got our stitches here at the bottom, so we know where to go. We know where to go. Here on the sides, however, it's not quite as recognizable, and this is when I say you have to hunt, peck, find, invent to put a border around this. And let's zoom back out a little bit. All right, so we're going to continue our way around. We're going to do a round of single crochets for the border. So when we come back around, this stitch right here is going to be your corner stitch. So we're going to do single crochets down. I'll zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. We'll go right here and put a single. Then we have to go into here somewhere. So we'll go in here. And I'm going to use this as another. And We'll go in here somewhere. Now here's what you want to do on the side. You remember, let me show you this. Instead of going into that double crochet that was on the end, I went around it, and that's what caused those holes. So if you're okay with those holes, then you can definitely do that. I am not doing that. I am going into the actual double crochet stitch, and that is what is allowing me to not have those holes. All right, this is one of our single crochets, a row that begins with a single. All right, we're going to go into this double. Here's a row where we started with a single. Let's work our way in here. Back down to a row with a double. And use your best judgment on where to put these single crochets for this border. And every so often, check and see, lay it down and check and see if you're bunching up, or if you've got too many. Every so often, check and see and make sure. Okay, let's go in here. So do this all the way down and meet me at the end, and I'll show you how to turn that corner. And it can be a little fiddly to get in there into the side, but just work at it. You'll get it. Do this all the way down. Meet me at the end. I'll show you how to turn that corner. Here we are at the corner. And you see I have got a nice straight, every 3 or 4 single crochets. Set it down, adjust it, see how it looks, nice and straight. And you see we don't have those holes that we've had in the orange one. Even in this green one, on this one, I have got some holes here. And we don't have that because we worked into the stitches and not around the stitches. So here we are at the end. Here is our corner stitch. Here we go, and we're going to put 2 single crochets into this corner, and that will give us a soft turn. It'll give us a soft turn. 3 just makes it pointy, and that'll give us a nice soft turn. And along this side, you already have your V-stitches right along here that's available to you. Work a single crochet all the way down, putting 2 single crochets in each of your corner, and I'll meet you when you get around to the end. Here we are at the corner with our tail end, and what you can do is lay this tail across your project as you're doing your border, and you will not have to weave it in at the end. And if y'all have watched my videos, you know that I will tell you tail ends are like the bane of my existence. If I can do something to where I do not have to weave in a tail, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So here we are on the side where we're having to work into those stitches that aren't quite as prominent as the top and the bottom, and so you're having to use your best judgment as far as getting in there, and some of them can be a little tight to get into on the single crochet sections. But lay your tail over there, and you won't be able to see it. You won't be able to see that. Here we are at our last corner. This is our last stitch, and it looks like it might be okay by itself, but it really will not be. This isn't a corner. So we are going to put our 2 single crochets in here, and in order to get this true corner to lay flat, we will slip stitch in the next stitch. You see, now that made our corner. Okay, pull it through, cut your yarn, tighten it down. This way you can take your, you only have one. If you crocheted your tail in, then you only have one tail. Oh, my light is flickering. I don't know what that's all about. Now, because the end of my tail comes out this way, you want to weave in your ends in this direction. So you can take it through, and you only need to do it a couple of directions, because once the friction starts in this tail end, the fibers of the yarn are going to fuse together, shall we say. They'll start to come together, and so you don't need to do it 4 and 5 times. You just need to do it a couple of times, and you don't really need to go that far, because it will fuse together and you'll be fine. There we go. Now we have a dishcloth that's going to last you for years. All right. If you have any questions or concerns, please leave me comments in the box down below. And happy crocheting, everybody. Congratulations.